In this video, we'll be discussing the AAII Investor Sentiment Survey. We'll talk about what this survey is, what it tells us about market participants and how they're feeling about the market, and how you can incorporate this into your analysis to determine what the crowd is kind of thinking or feeling about the stock market going forward. Now, this is specifically an indicator that is very useful for traders who are interested in trading individual stocks, indices, options, etc. Now, when we talk about what we're looking at here, as we hover over this, you'll see that the tool that I'm using is called the Edge Finder, and under Market Sentiment, we have a tab titled AAII Investor Sentiment Survey alongside many other sentiment tools available within our program. By the way, we'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out the Edge Finder and its full list of features. So first of all, what are we looking at here? Well, each one of these bars you'll see has three components. It has a bearish segment, a neutral segment, and a bullish segment. And as you can imagine, this is a fairly straightforward indicator. It is simply showing you the overall bias of the market on a week-to-week basis according to survey responses. You can also see that the data is coming out weekly here, and it reports every Wednesday at midnight. So we usually take a look at this on Thursday. Now, specifically what you can see is over time, the bearish levels or bullish levels are changing. And essentially this gives us a pulse check once a week as to how market participants are generally feeling about the stock market. And the natural next question is, what can we use this indicator for? For example, when we got really bearish readings here in April or March and April of 2025, we'll actually take a look at the chart here and see what the price action was looking at during this time. So the white vertical dashed line is showing a general area of where the market sentiment survey was showing us that the crowd sentiment was incredibly pessimistic. Let's go back and take a look at those numbers one more time. So during the peak bearishness between March 31st and April 6th, we saw a 21.8% of respondents saying they were bullish on the market, a 16.3% saying they were neutral, and a whopping 61.9% of respondents saying they're bearish outlook, saying they had a bearish outlook on the stock market. Now, it just so happens that when the crowd got peak bearish on this historical chart here, the stock market was in the process of actually bottoming out and reversed course from there. This brings me to my favorite way of using this indicator, which is as a contrarian indicator. When the sentiment of the market gets too stretched one way or the other, it makes me more poised to look for contrarian breakouts or reversal setups. A simple way to read this is that if people are getting very bullish, I may be more oriented towards getting cash heavy, selling some positions, or potentially even getting short on stocks or indices that I think might have downside. And during the sell-off that we saw in April, that was actually a really strong contrarian bullish signal when the crowd got peak pessimistic. Now, here's a quick warning with this indicator. You can actually see that the crowd was bearish ahead of time before the lows actually were placed. So to be fair to this is not an exceptional timing tool. If we were to say every time it goes over 50% bearish, just get long, on a long-term basis, that actually might be a decent signal historically speaking. But in terms of a short-term timing vehicle, what I like to look for is these sort of capitulation moves where all of a sudden there is a surge in bullishness or bearishness. So not only am I looking at this overall percentage at the bottom and top of this, but I'm looking for the jump in bearishness or the jump in bullishness as signs that we may be capitulating towards a bottom or top of a range. Another way to read this on a longer term basis is when you have high amounts of bearishness or high amounts of bullishness in a market. To me, it signals that you have a potential for a longer term strong push against that longer term crowd sentiment. In fact, this year is a really good example of that, because what we can see here is that crowd sentiment got really bearish and the market has been consistently grinding higher, and more bears have been slowly capitulating to join the bullish side. In my view, the way to approach this would be to continue to ride that trend until the bulls start to do the same thing, where everybody gets convinced it's bullish, then we start to reverse the trade, and so on and so forth. Now in the top right, I've just expanded our search back to, let's do 6 months. And what we can see here is that actually, believe it or not, we saw the exact opposite story starting to play out towards the end of 2024. The crowd sentiment was starting to get very bullish, and that actually put in a longer term top. Let's go take a look at December 2nd through December 8th. So check it out. Here is the December 2nd through December 8th reading, and you can actually see that's right around the topping point of the market. Now, we did technically grind sideways, and like I said, it's not a perfect timing indicator, but it gave us a general idea that look at how the sentiment right here was everybody was bullish, thinking the market was going to go higher. And over here, everybody was bearish, thinking the market was going to go lower. The market has an incredible ability to find a way to maximize pain for the max number of people in markets. Just when everybody thinks it's going to go up, the market goes down. Just when everybody thinks the market's going to go down, the market went up. Like I said, this is not a perfect timing tool by any means, but understanding the environment that you're in and the general sentiment of the crowd can be a very powerful contrarian indicator and can help spot larger, longer term reversals in financial markets. I'd encourage you to explore this playlist that we have on the channel here, full of different EdgeFinder features, or head over to a1trading.com/EdgeFinder to explore all of its features. And remember that the EdgeFinder is linked in the description down below if you'd like to start trading with more data and insights in your analysis.